All right. Well, we are here with Nan Barnett and Sharon Rothstein. Thanks so much for being on the Onstage Colorado podcast to talk about bad books.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So Sharon, you are the playwright, and Nan, you are the director of the National New Play Network, which is behind this. And so this show is going to be up at Curious Theater. It's a joint production between Curious and Local Theater in Boulder, directed by Nick Chase, who's one of the co-artistic directors at Local Theater Company. So there's the background. It'll be January 10th through February 1st. So let's talk about bad books. So Sharon, this is obviously this is a story about book banning, which is something near and dear to any writer's heart, but really should be near and dear to anybody's heart because of just the weight of those decisions that people want to make. But and you chose to kind of tackle it through the lens of comedy and with a sort of a librarian as I think the protagonist. Is that right?
Well, I would say actually it's a concerned mother who is our protagonist, and
Okay.
she meets a very worthy opponent in a badass librarian.
So the librarian is the villain, huh?
Well, there's no villain per
Okay.
se. They're both two women who have very, very good reasons for standing up for what they're standing up for. And they have a lot of assumptions about each other at the beginning of the play, and over the course of the play, a lot of those assumptions kind of get exploded, they get explored, and they end up in a very different place together than they started. But I really wanted to explore this issue of censorship with an open mind, to really explore where everyone is coming from and different sides of this issue, and also to do it, as you said, with some real comedy, because I think we all need that now.
Mm-hmm. And is it set in a particular place or state?
It's not very purposeful.
Okay.
Yeah, it's certainly informed and inspired by many of the real life book banning public library events that have happened over the course of the past 5 or so years around America. But I very specifically wanted it to feel like it could happen in any kind of small town or small city in America.
I was going to say, I think that's the geographic piece of it that's important, is that it's a town where people know each other and have long held assumptions about who they are and what they're supposed to be doing. But it's a town where, everyone knows who everybody is. And it feels it's very American and very kind of Americana in that way.
Right. So this is a rolling world premiere. So other theaters that'll be putting the show up are the Florida Studio Theater, the Roundhouse Theater in Maryland, and the Williamston Theater in Michigan. Can you explain a little bit about how this rolling premiere works? And have any of them opened yet, or is this still coming in January?
This will be number 3. Denver's number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, National New Play Network is an alliance of about 125 professional not-for-profit theaters from all over the country, of all different shapes and sizes, but all of whom have a dedication to do new work, world premieres, second and third productions. Sharon's play came to us through another of our programs, the National Showcase of New Plays that we do. And we got a chance to show it to our membership and pick up these partners. So a group of theaters come together before a play ever begins rehearsal for the first time anywhere, and say, we want to work on this together with the playwright. And NNPN provides financial support and marketing support and staff support to put the playwright together with these different theaters across the country. And then to have the playwright be in residence and working on the play at each production so that nothing moves. It's not a tour. It's not a co-production. It's just the play and the playwright moving from city to city. So Sharon will see the play in the hands of 4 different directors on the bodies of 8 different actresses, and in various designs and budget levels. That's one of the things that I'm really excited about this play specifically, because it started at Florida Studio, which is in Sarasota. It was done in their cabaret space, which is a 2-story space with a really narrow playing space. So very different, very sort of presentational work, because it's, tables for 2 and 4 on the ground floor, and then tables up around a bridge on the second floor. So it's a very different way of having to present the play. Then we got to see it at Roundhouse in Maryland. Beautiful, recently refurbished, 450 seat, major theater, with an astounding set, and great big presentation for a 2-person play, a really big presentation. Then of course, Curious with their, with the church and the older space with a hard proscenium. And then Williamston is one of our smallest theaters. It's literally like a 1-stoplight town in the middle of Michigan, in the middle of nowhere. And a really precious little 1920s movie theater that's been converted into a professional theater space. So Sharon's going to get to see it with a bunch of different people in a bunch of different ways, and learn not only from the directors and the audience and the actors and the designers, but also from the audiences, because the audiences in Sarasota, Florida are very different than the audiences in Bethesda, Maryland, than from Denver, and certainly from Williamston, Michigan. So this Sharon, is our, like 130 of these plays. Plays have been through this program with 3 to 5 theaters producing them within an 18-month time period.
Okay. And Sharon, have you seen any of these early productions, and is this anything that's causing you to evolve the script or tweak it for the subsequent theaters that are opening?
I feel so fortunate because I've been working as a playwright for quite a while, and it really was always my dream. It was my secret dream to have a National New Play Network rolling world premiere, because I think it is such an incredible program. We now more than ever need these audacious, incredible regional theaters that are willing to do challenging work, that are willing to do new work. And so to be involved in a program that helps support those theaters and helps support playwrights like me to like bring our work, have it more broadly seen by different communities in America is incredible. And I have learned so much from every performance and from the feedback I've gotten from audiences, which, knock on wood, because I'm very superstitious, but so far has been very positive. But I've certainly learned a lot, and it's, I think at every stop along the way, and certainly I was just in Denver last week, working with these incredible actresses, Jada and Lauren. At every stop, I'm just trying to deepen the play a little bit more, and then also find even more of the comedy. And nothing teaches you what's working in comedy like having an audience. So the gift of having multiple audiences in multiple locations has really helped me just kind of fine tune every bit, every joke. But then also this incredible opportunity, as Nan was saying, to have different actors in every role, has really helped me to see, okay, where can I push further into this character? Where am I actually saying too much? And these actors would be just as, evocative, without all of the language. So, that has been an incredible opportunity. And then, of course, this is a very socially relevant play. It's not political in the terms of like, it's not about Republicans and Democrats or anything like that, but it is kind of small p political about the politics of living in our country right now. And as we all know, that's constantly evolving. So I'm always looking for, with every production, is everything I'm saying in this play still relevant? Can it be made more relevant? And so that's been a great gift too, to be able to continue fine tuning that as the play proceeds.
All right. So yeah, Jada Suzanne Dixon plays the mother, Lauren Dennis theater production. So you could have gone a lot of ways with this. You could have had like a school board thing, or, and you you distilled it down to these two women. What drove that decision to tell it from that just really hyper personal point of view with these two personalities?
Yeah, well, and I will say there's actually more than two women. There's more than two characters in the play. The actor who plays the librarian, then in the second and third part, ends up playing a manager and an editor, and then goes back to playing a librarian. So
Okay.
and the goal behind that, and having one actor play those multiple roles, was to really keep it as theatrical as possible. And I also, oh God, I was so hungry for like really meaty, delicious roles for two women. Really, this is a play that can be performed by women of almost any age, of any race. And I was really, I've just known so, and I'm sure Nan does too. I've known so many incredible actresses who don't get the roles that they should, because there aren't that many roles out there for them. So I was really driven by that when I started writing the play. And then to your question, a lot about this play is about motherhood and the issues of parental control, which I am a parent and I constantly feel out of control. And so when the whole parental control movement really started gaining ground around COVID, I kept thinking like, wow, who are these parents who want control? And also I'm a little jealous of them. Like I would love to feel like I could be in control. And so it just sparked a lot of questions for me. And that's where most of my plays come from, is the questions. And I just don't, I believe that every character you create for the stage has to be a full person, and they have to have a complete sense of humanity. And so this was never going to be a polemic. It was always going to be, a very personal investigation of how these kind of bigger social issues around parents' rights and book banning, how they really intersect with us on a personal kind of daily community level.
It's also something too, Sharon, I think about the way that the characters get revealed, especially the mother character. You think you know who she is, and then you find out a little more, and then you find out a little more. And it, if theater is an empathy driver, I think a lot of times people tend to think that theater folks tend to want to drive empathy in a certain direction. But this is not that at all. It's so beautifully balanced and makes you really think about, this is a woman that's had some stuff happen to her, and that she's making this decision and trying to grab hold of her life again, not because she's a bad person or because she has a political bent that takes her down this road. She's made these decisions because of what has happened to her in her life. And that is a great reminder to us all, I think, that, we see one level of a person, especially when it's a person who you might in some way other. You might say, that's not a person I want to deal with because they think that. Yet why they think that is so these deeply held beliefs are caused by their reactions to things. And Sharon does a really great job of reeling in the audience into the story of not just the events of right now, but the events of the past that have gotten them to the right now. It makes for, like you say, it's a very funny play. It's very funny, but there's some real meat in there. And, it becomes easier to understand why certain people do certain things when you start to see what that backstory is. And I love that about this play.
Right. Yeah. The thing about the banned book thing is it's an old story. And I want to ask you, Sharon, some of the reasons these things come about, and the either sides might sound similar to they might have 50, 100 years ago. What's different now in the digital age? Is it like, I don't know, sometimes it seems like so almost quaint to say, "Oh, I'm going to ban this book," like the kid couldn't find it, anywhere else. So how do you see that in the through the prism of 2025?
Yeah, and we address it. I mean, one of the librarian character literally says to the mother in the beginning of the play, like, doesn't your kid have a cell phone, an iPad? Can't
Mm-hmm.
they look up the book online? And the mother's response is, yeah, but it's different. Holding a book in your hand, it's different. Um, and in rehearsal just a few days ago, we were talking through that moment and um, talking through how that is both true and not true. And how there is got to be a reason. And it's one of the questions that drove me in writing the play, that even with all this access to technology, there has still been such an uproar around our public libraries and our school libraries. Um, there's part of me that thinks, well, that's because we think we can control what's in those libraries. As parents, we so desperately want not just to control our kids, we want to protect them. I mean, there's a lot of protection going on. Um, and then maybe it's also that we parents today are just of a generation that didn't grow up with such easy access to the technology. And we're like desperately clinging onto the thing we can understand.
Huh?
I go back and forth all the time as to which is it. And of course, it's probably a combination of it all. I think at a time when, and this is certainly true for my kids, I have a 12 and a 14-year-old, at a time when they are inundated by so much content, and it's such a tidal wave that there's just no way any parent can really control what their kid is seeing or reading. I can understand that desperate desire to try to protect them, even if we end up doing that in what ultimately seems to be kind of an antiquated way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also having it on the shelf in the school library is also a sort of, I don't know, state sanction, approval or something like that makes it perhaps more dangerous seeming, to people. But yeah, it's fascinating. And, it's a legitimate concern. It's like, should this child at this age be able to read this? I mean, but a lot of times the person who's calling for that ban, especially if you're reading it through the lens of like a progressive audience, maybe comes across as the villain. So how did you make the librarian a little bit more sympathetic by drawing out like her real reasons, and with the mother?
Yeah. Well, I will say the mother comes in with what seems like a pretty straightforward request to have a book taken off the shelves. But she is coming face to face with a librarian who, like librarians all across this country, they have been put through it. And I've now spoken to one of the most beautiful things about having this play produced across the country is I've had so many librarians reach out to me and
Huh?
they told me how the play resonated with them. Some of them have thanked me for the play. It's just been incredibly humbling and flattering. And so the librarian in this play, she's already on guard. She has already seen, attacks and book banning requests throughout the country. And she's kind of like, she's walking on eggshells already. And so then when the mother comes in, they're both kind of ready to go. And the mother's got a lot she's dealing with, as Nan was saying, and I don't want to reveal it all here, but there's a lot of very real, deep, complicated family stuff going on for her. Um, she's not like some kind of shrieking political figurehead. She's a real mom who has real concerns. And so these two women who both, are standing on firm ground when it comes to their ideals and the things they're fighting for, neither of them is going to back down, which, I think is what makes such compelling drama. Um, And they're both, I think if they both weren't so like ready for the conflict, they might be able to see that actually they have more in common than they think they do. And that's part of the journey of the play.
Great. Nan, I wanted to ask a little bit about the National New Play Network. So you've done. I was looking at your bio and just the staggering amount of plays that this organization has been involved in getting out there. And I was wondering if you could just talk about how Bad Books maybe fits into the aesthetic of an NPN, and like what are the biggest challenges facing new play development in American theater right now when they're looking at empty seats and they're maybe afraid to confront or to present new work.
One of the things that an NPN was founded to combat was this idea that new work is scary, or we kind of did it to ourselves because we like to talk about new work being risky, and I'm like, stop saying that. That's not a positive word in all corners. National New Play Network is this alliance of theaters that collaborate in innovative ways to develop and produce and what we say, extend the life of new plays so that it's not a one and done. You don't just get the world premiere and then the play is never seen again, right? That we do have these programs like the Rolling World Premiere program that's designed specifically both to allow a writer to continue to work on the play, but also for there to be a build around the play that, we're putting out the marketing, it's getting done. It gets announced that it's going to be a role. So it starts to get a little buzz around it in a way that just a world premiere, a single shot at it doesn't happen. So the idea is that every play was a new play once. Every play is a new play the first time someone sees it. I don't care if it's, Oedipus. The first time someone sees that, it's a new play for them, right? So we have to just sort of embrace the idea that it's always new. It's always changing. And we want to make sure that the voices that are being captured through a script and through a play right now look like our country, so that we are hearing from people whose stories might have been set aside before, people who have been underrepresented, both as performers and as writers. And we also want to make sure that people all over the country get to see theater. You don't have to go to New York to see something new and exciting. You don't have to be in LA to be able to see a play that is going to challenge you. We want the entire country to have the opportunity to get to see the current thoughts of a playwright. And it doesn't matter whether it's set in the 800s or whether it's set in the 8000s or it's right now. It's a new work and it's capturing what's going on in the minds of our creative people right now. You see that very much in Bad Books because it is so topical, but also really it's the essence, as you were saying, of motherhood, of honesty, of personal honesty, of pain. We see a lot of pain in the play, but also an amazing sense of humor and resilience and the way that humans go on and they keep going on. And we want to be able to bring the voices of those writers to our audiences, not just here nationally. I mean, I think this play has a potential to have a huge international life as well, I think, because it's a fairly simple, as we say, two-hander, takes two actors and one set with a creative set designer. And it is a universal truth that mothers, as you were saying, they want to control the environment their children are in. They want to do what they believe is best for their child, and that doesn't stop at any border. So I hope to see it all over the world.
Nan, I love the idea of ancient Greeks in their togas sitting down to see Oedipus for the first time, saying like,
Right?
have you anything about this guy? How's this going to be?
When's
Yeah.
that going to work?
That's great.
I always talk about how, in even like in storytelling in cavemen times, you knew how the hunt had ended because you're sitting around the fire gnawing on the bison leg, right? They were successful, but what you wanted was the story of how it happened.
So true.
Right? So it's the same thing, I always say to people, I don't want to spoiler alert, but both Romeo and Juliet die, but people still go see it. They know that, right? You go hear you want to see the way it's told. You want to know the perspective of the writer, of the artistic director who chose the play. Like for Jada, this is a role that she chose to do herself, which I love. Jada's also on the board of National New Play Network. So she gets to wear her board member hat, her actor hat, and her artistic director hat, and her NNPNer hat, all in the same show for this one. So it's just a delight to be able to help support that idea of story is story, and it's all about humans, and that's what we want to remind people that they are.
All right. Well, Nan Barnett is the executive director of the National New Play Network. Playwright Sharon Rothstein's new play Bad Books is going to be opening at Curious Theater in Denver. It'll be running January 10th through February 1st. And thanks so much for coming on the Onstage Colorado podcast to talk about this new play. It's exciting to hear about, and I look forward to seeing it and break legs.
Thanks. We'll see you in Denver. We'll see you at Curious Theater.
Thanks, Alex.
All right.
Well, that was a great conversation and just made me even more interested in seeing what Curious has got going on with Bad Books.
Yeah. It's such a great topic. Book burning, just like, man, it's one of those hot button issues that gets people going. And as Sharon was saying, it's like comedy. It just seems like a great way to approach it.
Definitely. Well, with that brings us to the end of our show this week. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on in theaters across the state, be sure that you are subscribed to the Onstage Colorado Theater Blast, which is our weekly newsletter, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast so that you never miss an episode.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Tony Tresca, and we'll see you at the show.